Hi everybody, it's Nick again. So in this part two of my Vipassana kind of mini series, I will be going over kind of my experience from day 1 through to day 10 and eventually day 11. And then I will also be going over the schedule and I'll be going over kind of what the thing to look forward to, I guess, at night would be. So let's get to it. So basically, for me, day 1, when I arrived on site, you have to kind of check in. So you I what when I went to Montebello, Quebec, I drove. So I parked my car, and I ended up just walking to the retreat. Parking lot isn't far away, so it's right across. So it takes about a 2-minute walk, and then you kind of go inside and you give all your valuables. So for me, it would have been my car keys, my wallet, um, and my phone as well, and just anything that is really valuable to you, even pens, papers, books, because you can't be reading, you can't be writing, you can't be on technology while you're there. You're supposed to basically live in isolation. So you're supposed to hand in all these items and accessories to the people, and then essentially they just kind of lock it up, and you get it on the 11th day. So after you do that, they show you to your room, and essentially you go and you meet. I guess for me it was I had 3 other roommates, so there were 2 bunk beds in my room. I believe in North Barrie, Simcoe area, Orangeville area. There's private rooms, but for the Montebello, Quebec one, they were actually 2 bunk beds, so there was 4 of us in there. So I got to meet everybody, and then you go and you have dinner, you have supper, and then after that you take a vow of silence. So for the vow of silence, I or everybody, you listen to a tape, listen to Essen Goenka. Basically, you listen to him and you take your vow of silence. So with that in mind, you're not allowed to talk to anybody for the remainder of the camp or the retreat until the 11th day when it's over, when the 10 days are over, and you're not allowed to actually make eye contact with anybody. So you're basically going to be walking around. You're not going to be talking to anybody. You're going to be looking down or looking away. You're trying not to make eye contact. It's basically, you're going to be in your own little space. So I kind of really enjoyed that because even though people would say I'm very extroverted, I am. I do like my kind of alone space. I do like to kind of zone in and take everything in as it should be. So those are the requirements. So after you do that, you basically go to bed, and then the schedule starts. So the schedule is a bit lengthy. You're going to be doing a lot of meditation. Now, for me, I wasn't used to it at first because I went kind of cold turkey into it. So I didn't really do a lot of practice and meditating beforehand. And this was kind of a real boot camp for me, for sitting for long periods of time in the lotus or cross leg position. So the schedule is you wake up at 4 a.m. So they wake you up with a gong, and then they basically say that you should be at the meditation hall or in your room from 4:30 to 6:30. So it's 2-hour meditation in the morning. Then 6:30 to 8, you are eating breakfast slash sleeping. So since I was getting up so early, I was very tired in the first few days, so I ended up eating and then sleeping on a full stomach, which is kind of different. Or you could sleep first and then hopefully wake up and have breakfast later. And then after that, from 8 to 11, you meditate once more. And basically, from 8 to 9, you meditate in the group, so in the Dharma, DHARMA hall. And then from 9 to 11, you can meditate either in your room or in the hall with the group. It really depends on your instructor. So your instructors actually let you know if you should be meditating in the hall after that group meditation, or if you should stay in the hall, or if you should go back to your room or wherever, whichever you deem reasonable for yourself. So, and then from 11 to 12, you have lunch break, so you can squeeze in another nap there. It's all the lunch and all the meals are vegetarian based. So there's no meat. I love the caramelized tofu was my favorite, and then they had some really good oatmeal and kind of good porridge and good quinoa and different food, and they actually keep the variety pretty well, at least for the place that I went. And then from 12 to 1, you actually go and you rest and you do kind of a private Q&A session with the instructors. So they call you up, they put you in different mini groups, let's say of 5 or 6 people, depending how big your meditation hall group is. And then they kind of call you up and they ask if you have any questions about the technique, like if you're doing it right. So I definitely use that because they'll be the only people who you can ask or speak to and look at. And then from 5 to 6 is a tea break. So the tea break for old students, it's literally just a tea break or just a liquids break. So um, you just drink tea or coffee. But for new beginners whose first time this is, then you would actually be eating either an orange or an apple or a banana or all the above. Since I was used to eating kind of 7 or 8 meals a day, because I'm a very active person, I kind of found that difficult. But you'll get used to kind of the decreased amount of food that you'll be intaking throughout the retreat. And then after that, 6 to 7 is another group meditation. And then 7 to 8, I believe 8:15 is the discourse. So that's the thing that I was referring to in part one, was a little surprise. So 7 to 8:15 is SN Goenka sitting down with you. It's pre-recorded videos, and he just goes through everything, and it's really fantastic because he hits everything perfectly to a T, kind of your experiences, and I'm sure you'll be thinking that once you go through it. So that's every day from 7 to 8:15. You'll hear a different discourse from him. So that's kind of a nice refresher. And then from 8:15 to 9, you meditate in the group hall, and then from 9 to 9:30, it's another open and question answer Q&A session with the prof, and then 10 p.m. or 9:30 they said for us was lights out because you have to get up at 4 a.m. So that's basically the schedule. I'll also post the hyperlink within the description below. And for me, the experience that I got was day one. Basically, day one was me kind of getting my spot organized. I didn't have cushions, so they had a wall of cushions. I took about 3 or 4 of them, stacked them up high so I could sit up high, and then I kind of lowered them as I got more comfortable. I'm not very flexible, so in the lowest position, my legs were kind of more up, but over time, they will be more flexible if you keep, I guess, getting used to it. Now, for me, sitting in that position and using all those cushions was difficult. I kept moving around. The first day, your mind is going to be racing, always racing. You're going to be thinking, oh, what about this? What about this? Oh, why did I choose this? Oh, it's just volunteer. I could leave at any time I want. This, that, this, that. So you're really battling with yourself for the first little while at the retreat. And for me, it was my back was actually inflamed because sitting down in the cross-legged position, I'm not sure. I guess I'm just really tense, and then my back actually ended up hurting, becoming inflamed. But I didn't want to take any pills, no Advil or anything like that. So the first 3 days, actually my back was really hurting. But you're there to meditate, and you're trying not to. You're trying not to actually think about that. So basically, in regards to that, the fourth day was when I finally got the first experience of the meditation kind of benefits that it offers, and my mind was off. The pain and the inflammation in my back actually went away, which was fantastic. So I was very, very happy about that. And then on the seventh day was when I actually became kind of, I guess you could say, high on life. It wasn't an out of body experience, but it definitely was an experience that kind of created craving for me, which is not good because craving creates misery, as I said in the first video, and S. N. Goenko on the recordings will say that a lot as well. So you do not want to crave. But basically, my experience was I was buzzing throughout my body, and basically, when I walked outside for a little break before we had to go back to meditate, after a group meditation session, I was walking around and I was looking at a flower. I stopped to look at a flower, and basically I noticed all the fine details. When you're in the state, you notice a lot of different details. When your mind is calm, you notice everything. You notice your breathing, and you just take everything in. You're very equanimous, so you don't react to the environment or anything. So essentially, I was looking at the flower, and one of my favorite insects actually came along. So it was a bee, and a bee landed on the flower, and I looked at the bee, and I kind of felt the connection. So I don't know why this was, but I decided to take my finger and kind of go towards the bee, and I ended up touching it and kind of petting it, and then it flew away very gracefully. And that was a surreal moment for me. Definitely was trying not to think at that moment, because it was definitely something that I would probably I would never do again if I wasn't in that state. But that was kind of the experience that I got when feeling the energy throughout my body, kind of flowing through my body. So besides that, on the 11th day, we finally ended, and on the 11th day in the morning, you're allowed to talk because the 10 days are over. So we all kind of shared our experiences. We all had different names for different people who we saw. So we saw this one man at the front. I named him Old Man Jenkins. Somebody named him the Greek mathematician. Somebody else named him Einstein. And basically, we just all had different names for different people. It felt like we all knew each other, even though we weren't actually talking or looking at each other or interacting. But you would sit down and eat your meals beside people, maybe in the same places each time. So you kind of feel like you know them, and you get to listen to everybody else's different experiences, which is really neat. It's definitely beneficial to have that conversation on the last day. But for one of my roommates, he actually ended up dropping out on the third day in the morning. I don't advise you to do that, and there's one reason for that is that for the first 3 days, you do Anapana, which is the meditation that you're supposed to be focusing on the triangular nostril area, so just this part. And basically you just feel the air going in and kind of touching your upper lip and coming out. And you just focus on that for 3 days. So it's very, very kind of difficult to keep your mind steady. So he left on the third day thinking we were going to do this, I guess, for the whole camp, but you actually don't. So on the fourth day, you start the kind of Vipassana meditation, the true kind of, you start from, let's say, your head, and you feel the energy and all the, I guess, the bubbles rising and passing away, which you'll understand from Esenguenka. And basically, just throughout your body, you just feel all the different, energy and kind of, I guess, reaction. You just have to, you go from each body part and you just understand everything. So that's the part that gets very exciting. At least for me it was, because I was happy to get away from the Anapana. Even though it's very beneficial, you should always go back to that as your base technique, and they will tell you about that. But if you have any questions in regards to Vipassana meditation, in regards to kind of my experience, or in regards to anybody else's experience, just comment below. I'll do my best to answer the comments or the questions, and I hope that this video was useful and that you enjoyed it. Thanks.